I've seen a lot of weird films in my time, but I haven't watched a stop motion film since Chicken Run. So today, we're looking at 2024's stop motion. Hey, I'm Billy Bogues and welcome back to another episode of How Disturbing, the show where we try to find the greatest disturbing film of all time. And as I mentioned earlier, today we're looking at 2024's stop motion. We're going to do three things here. First of all, we're going to look at the people behind this film, then we're going to break down an extended plot, and lastly, we're going to rank it to see if it truly is the greatest disturbing film of all time. Stop motion was released in 2024, and in Australia it received an R18+ rating. It was directed by Robert Morgan in his feature-length debut. He's previously mostly worked in shorts, and he usually works with stop motion. Stop motion stars Aisling Franciosi, and she's in one of my favourite films of all time, called The Nightingale. I implore you all to watch it. It's a very disturbing and harrowing tale of Australian history that often doesn't get told, so I really implore you to go and have a look at that one. Stop motion also stars Stella Gannett, who's mostly just done British dramas such as The House of Elliot and Holby City. And lastly, we've got Tom York, who you're probably going to recognise as Sam from Poldark. Meet Ella Blake. She's a talented stop motion artist. But unfortunately for her, she's not working on her own project, she's working on her mother's project.
Little. Yes.
Her mother is a renowned and famous stop motion artist who's unable to finish her last project due to severe arthritis in her handsies. She's also your garden variety Karen.
What is wrong with you? Half a millimetre.
Luckily though, karma exists and Ella's Karen of a mother suffers a stroke. She's not dead though, just in a coma. Ella's boyfriend Tom invites Ella to live with him while her mother recovers. She refuses though, instead choosing to rent a studio apartment so that she can finish the stop motion project. At Ella's new apartment complex, she runs into a snot-faced little brat who's very curious about the stop motion project.
What's all that stuff?
I'm making a film.
Is it a cartoon?
It's called stop motion animation.
Can I see?
Ella explains to the snotty little brat face how stop motion works.
I move her again. Click. And again. Click.
And when you play it all back, it looks like she's moving.
That's right.
And she tells her about the project that she's been working on. However, little snotty brat face tells Ella that her story is boring.
What do you think? What?
It's a bit boring.
She knows a better one. Snotface then tells Ella the beginning of a story about a girl who's lost and frightened in the woods.
There's a girl in the woods and she's scared
Why is she scared?
because she's lost.
What's so scary about that?
There's someone coming.
The story remains unfinished, however, as Snotface gets distracted by a ball of wax. Yeah, that's some hardcore ADD. Imagine being distracted by a ball of wax.
What's that stuff?
It's called mortician's wax.
Ella sees this as a sign to usher the girl out.
Look, I've got to get on now, so...
What else you got here?
It's been really nice to meet you.
For reasons that don't make sense to me, Ella abandons the project she's working on and begins working on the little girl's project. Although, she actually has no recollection of doing any of the work. Yeah. Snotface returns the following day and tells Ella that her wax figurines don't look lifelike enough. Possibly because they're fucking wax, you little fuck. What is your problem? Jesus.
Well, what's wrong with it?
She doesn't look real.
She's not supposed to look real.
Snotface retrieves a raw steak from the garbage and suggests that Ella puts it under the skin of the wax dolls to emulate flesh.
It's raw meat. Dead meat.
Yeah, but you can bring it to life.
Again, for reasons that don't make fucking sense to me, Ella complies. Snotface then tells Ella that the girl in the forest is actually hiding from an entity known as the Ashman.
The Ashman.
The man no one wants to meet.
The next night, Snotface leads Ella into a real forest and takes her to a fox carcass.
You can make an arm trowel with the bones, wrap him in skin, and give him teeth and a tongue.
You see, Snotface is insisting that the Ashman needs to be crafted out of something dead. Gross.
If you're going to make the Ashman, you need to do it properly.
I've already made the Ashman.
No, he needs to be made out of something dead.
Snotface then tells Ella the next part of the story, which is the Ashman finding the girl hiding inside a house. That night, Ella traumatically hallucinates the Ashman staring at her through the peephole of her front door. The next day, Tom arrives at the apartment and finds Ella passed out on the floor. Ella then realizes that she's animated the Ashman staring at the little girl through the window of the house. The next night, Ella's puppets visit her while she's sleeping. Oh, that's nice. Except it's not nice because the puppets tear her flesh open. Snotface is back, and now she's telling Ella another part of the story. The next chapter is that the Ashman reaches in and touches the girl.
So, now it's the second night. And the Ashman comes back. And this time, he touches her.
Ella decides not to include this in the story. No, she's changing it so that instead the little girl actually escapes the Ashman.
That's not what happens. The girl escapes and the Ashman doesn't touch her.
That's not how it goes.
But she realises that you really shouldn't fuck with this little girl's story because now it's hallucination time again. And this time, it's a doozy. Now I'm going to need you to follow along closely here because this is complicated. Ella herself becomes a wax puppet and the Ashman is after her. He catches her, spits out a black egg and forces her to eat it. Ella then awakens in the hospital with an injured leg in the same place where the puppets tore her flesh open the night prior. She's visited by Tom, who tells her that this project has gone too far and that he's sick of dealing with her wacky bullshit.
Animating a steak and a dead fox. Like, who the fuck wants to see that?
He's going to go to the apartment and demolish Ella's entire set. However, Ella insists that she be the one to do it, and Tom reluctantly agrees.
Let me do it. Just let me do it. Okay, you're right. I know this needs to stop. I know it's bad for me.
Ella then learns that her fucking Karen of a mother is dead, and guess who's sad about that? No one. Back at the apartment now, and Ella has had enough of Snotface's shit, she decides to strangle her until she's dead. Only she's not dead, she's standing behind Ella now, comforting her as she cries.
Hey, it's okay. We're nearly there.
Scared.
Snotface demands that the Ashman be made with something bloodier. Ella then removes the stitches on her leg, pulls out a section of muscle fibre, and intertwines that with the puppets. As she's doing this, she's discovered by Tom and his sister Polly, who immediately try to rush her back to hospital. Unfortunately for them, Ella murders the fuck out of them and uses their corpses to create life-size puppets of the Ashman and the little girl.
Ready? Steady. Go.
And guess what? That's all I'm giving you there, guys. The extended synopsis is over. If you want to see how the movie ends, go and find it. I'm not going to wreck everything for you. I feel like that's not fair to these people who worked really hard on a film. But what I can tell you is where stop motion ranks among its brethren of fantastic, disturbing cinema. I always try to avoid watching films that are made exclusively for streaming services like Shudder, because they just tend to be shit, and I actually thought this was one of those. It's not, but you wouldn't be able to tell from watching the film because it's a bit shit. That's upsetting because it had me really hopeful in the first act. The film used some really resourceful elements like blurs and still images to great effect. And I've got to say, the scene where that raging fucking Karen has a stroke, that was disturbing in itself. It was extremely realistic. However, Act 1's zesty intro wore off quickly and we were left with a very poor, floundering attempt to make an art house horror film. The script of stop motion is insanely weak, and we got some extremely terrible scripting like this.
Why is she scared?
Because she's lost.
What's so scary about that?
She's scared because she's lost, you fucking moron. Being lost is scary. Like, are you an idiot? No real person would actually say that in real life. Why would you put that in here? Ugh. So, I'm no connoisseur of stop motion. I can't really judge it, but the stop motion was pretty creepy and yuck, I've got to say. And this is really where the film draws the majority of its disturbing elements, although we did have the stroke and some pretty graphic gore. And while we're on the topic of the gore, I will say the practical effects here were brilliant. They were very effective and realistic. However, the lack of score was really weird, the scares were super duper predictable, and the cinematography was vanilla. I mean, the entire concept of this film isn't original enough to be refreshing, right? It doesn't compensate for any of this. And truly, the only thing I can give high points for are the practical effects. That's kind of it. But enough of that, because we're going to open the spreadsheet and we're going to see how far up the list stop motion will rank as a truly amazing and disturbing film. Alright, so remember that we're not actually looking for the most disturbing film here. What we're searching for is the greatest disturbing film, right? So we need to balance out how good the film is with how disturbing the film is. The first thing I'm going to do is rank it as a movie. How good was stop motion? And I've got to tell you, it wasn't very good. Out of 100, I'm going to award stop motion a nice 24.7. I think that's really as far as I can push it, and honestly, that feels like I'm being too kind. But hey, let's be real, what everyone else thinks is pretty important too. It would be completely biased if all I did was judge this on how good I thought it was. So, I went to the most popular movie review sites like IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes, and I've figured out that you guys think that stop motion is a 59 out of 100. And man, generous, that's kind. We're going to average out how good I thought it was, 24.7, with how good you guys thought it was, 59, and that leaves us with an overall combined movie average of 41.9. Next up, we're going to rank stop motion's disturbingness on a scale of 100 as well, and I'm going to award stop motion the disturbing score of 51, right in the middle there. It wasn't really too bad. It was pretty easy to take. Like, most of the disturbingness comes from the fact that puppets are creepy, right? And that bit of gore. That's it. Now we're going to use the overall film rating and the disturbing rating and combine them to create an ultimate disturbing rating. But before we do, I'm going to do that thing that you guys hate, that I hate. We've got to do the dance. I need you guys please to like this video and subscribe to the video. Yeah. I am really sorry that I just did that. Anyway, the ultimate disturbing rating for stop motion is a 46.5. That's right, there it is. Now we'll open up the overall spreadsheet. We're going to put it in there, and unsurprisingly, it's down the bottom. Yep, stop motion is slightly more disturbing than The Purge, but slightly less disturbing than Life. And that sounds about right. Thanks again for watching How Disturbing. I'm Billy Bogues. Links to the spreadsheet should be found in the About section or pinned at the top of the comments section as soon as I work out how to do that. If you like this video, maybe check out one of these other videos that might be floating around the screen right now. Catch ya!